I will not pardon Trump supporters. You know, the ones who are saying, I supported Trump, but this is not what I wanted. It's not that I've built a wall, rather, it's a guideline that I set to protect my well being. I'm not being selfish, I'm not being mean. I'll still work with them. This is more like an awareness. It took me a while to get to a place where I decided that I would not give them grace. After the election, I realized that Trump's supporters still seemed so unhappy even after getting what they wanted. I spend more time on Facebook than I used to. There are expat groups that I'm a part of, and I like going through the posts to see what's happening in my area. Of course, when I log on, I see people that I'm connected to who are Trump supporters. I was always of the frame of mind that their life experiences led them to different conclusions from mine. I never gave them judgment, but after this election, that started to change for me. A few people I used to work with really stood out. Back in my 20s, I was a flight attendant out of Boston. Boston was a small base. We had about a little over 600 flight attendants and no pilots. Our base was tight. Pretty much everyone knew everyone else, even if you didn't fly with them. At this point, I had just moved from Boston to DC because I wanted a change of pace, and commuting there was super easy. I had just arrived in from a trip and I had a few days off. And instead of hopping on the next flight to DC, I tried to pick up an open trip for the next day. And there was this sweet 3-day trip that was available to pick up. It was from Boston to LA with a 24-hour layover in LA. And then it went LA, San Francisco. And I believe it had like an 18-hour layover. The third day was San Francisco back to Boston. It was a sweet trip. I tried my damnedest to pick up that trip. One, it was a rare chance to work on a 767 out of Boston. We mostly use 57s, 37s, Airbus A319s, and 20s. Two, it was extra money while doing a super easy trip during a time of year when the flight loads were light. As hard as I tried, I couldn't pick up this trip. I called crew scheduling to confirm why I couldn't pick it up. Luckily, I worked out of a small base, so I was able to connect with a scheduler who told me that I had an 8 and 24. Basically, I couldn't fly more than 8 hours within a consecutive 24-hour period. When I say fly, think plane pushback from the gate through to when the chocks are put under the wheels when you arrive at the next airport. For my aviation folks, I left the airlines back in 2006, so I don't know if any FAA rules have changed since. Let me know in the comments. I was illegal for this trip by 1 minute, so I searched for some other trips to see if there was anything I wanted. There wasn't, so I gave up and I headed home to my place in DC. The next morning, I went downtown in DC to meet with somebody about a temp job they needed help with. And while I was there, my phone started going crazy. And then everybody in the office that I was at went into the break room to look at the TV. So of course I went with them. The news was nuts. The office was a few blocks from the White House and it was evacuated. This is a day I will never forget. Boston was a really tight base and it was really hit hard. It was more than just flight attendants. It was the time of year when airline employees traveled because back to school meant lighter loads, which gave better access to flying benefits. On that flight, Boston lost flight attendants, we lost customer service agents, we lost mechanics. So when I see my former colleagues from Boston on Facebook, some of them who have since earned their wings as pilots, when I see them supporting the cuts to the FAA, how could I forgive that? When I left the airlines, I went into luxury hospitality. I see it from my colleagues there too. They're so excited about the Doge dividend, even though they won't be eligible for it. I link the proposal for it in the description. Of the Doge savings, some of it will be used to pay off national debt, and 20%, about 400 billion, could be used to reward some tax-paying Americans. It would be divided amongst the 79 million tax-paying households. Each household would get about $5,000, but we need to know what tax paying means. By tax paying, they mean net income taxpayer, which means that you have to pay more in taxes than you get back in the rebate. So if you get a refund, you get nothing. Anyone who thinks of $5,000 as something life-changing will not have their lives changed by this dividend. These are people who are cheering on the Doge cuts, commending DEI, calling ICE. All the while we have planes bumping into each other and falling out of the sky. I have never heard a qualified candidate complain about DEI taking their job. And please do not comment about the college case that went to the Supreme Court. That was not about DEI. Heck, with all the things that DEI is supposed to offer, I should have traded in my stew wings for pilot wings and made buckets of money. These are people who somehow haven't figured things out. They think that they're red pilled, but actually they took the blue. They support a man who has the means to create a real life matrix, all the way down to installing a chip in your brain. How many movies do we have to see to know that he's the bad guy? These are people who wanted a better economy, but instead got fired federal employees. They wanted cheaper energy, but instead got fired nuclear power plant safety inspectors. They wanted to stop the wars, but got threats to invade our allies. They backed the blue, but got pardons for the insurrectionists who attacked the police. They are union workers. They have children in school. They fly frequently and are now seeing the effects of fewer air traffic controllers. Somehow, none of this has motivated a change of opinion, I guess because it hasn't affected them yet, somehow. I learned long ago how to set boundaries, and with boundaries, it's not my job to impact another person's behavior. My job is to protect myself from them. What actions can I do to ensure that I remain healthy and joyful? My boundary is to identify people who I believe don't hold empathy for their fellow humans. Then I remove their access from me. Trust is like a broken mirror. You can glue it all back together. In the reflection, there will always be cracks. Maybe I would have different guidelines if I had to consider family. Frankly, these folks have used up all my stores of any courtesy that I ever had. In the spirit of being self centered, my boundary is people who voted against me and African American, the wife of an immigrant, a woman, a mother. Had we vilified the supremacists after World War II, I think some of the hate that we see now wouldn't be so prevalent. Maybe the focus would have been directed at the real villain, the real problem. It's like Lyndon B. Johnson said, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you. As I see more and more salutes, they remind me to protect how I trust. There are so many new people here. Welcome to this community. This channel, it started out with me sharing my experiences as an American in Spain. After I saw the results of the election, I was motivated to make an impact. Here, I will relate my experiences to current events. My goal is to make 8 to 15-minute videos each week for this channel and one video from my other channel, Aster Rico. I made that channel to focus on my experiences here as an American living in northern Spain. For everyone who thanked me for my video about Red Skull, it was a video that I was afraid to share. I really appreciate that you've joined me on this journey. I'm at the end of what I called the 50 by 50 challenge. I started on October 1st and it's supposed to end tomorrow on my 50th birthday. I won't hit the 50th video by my birthday. This is video number 48. I did pretty darn good. Anyways, YouTube says that you should watch this, but if you want to watch this instead, that's okay. Okay, bye.